Welcome to Framework. I'm John, one of the hosts of Framework. With me, as always, the other host of Framework, Al. How are you this morning, Al?
I'm all right, man. Salutations to you. And we are back to finish up. I think this will be our last iteration of the Oscar Snubs draft format.
Yeah.
We're getting down to, we're off the headliners. And today we're going to do screenplays and best scores. We have, of course, returning to do this with us again is June. Kim?
We're not going to cover best sound mixing and best sound editing?
A lost art these days.
It's a little interesting to differentiate those, but they got rid of one of them, didn't they?
I can't remember, honestly.
They were just like, no one gets it. We're just going to stop trying, I think.
Well, you know what? Wait, didn't they finally add the stunt category?
Yeah, that's happening next year, I think.
They added casting directing, too, which I didn't see. I don't think that actually happened this last year, though, so I guess that's next year, too?
Probably.
Well, I imagine Chris would want to do that with us, too. Chris Prentice, I'm also introducing you here. How many years do we need of that before we can do a snubs? Just do it off the wall.
I mean, we could do maybe like our own stunt awards for like the last 30 years, or, pick
for
what
years
we believe
past.
what should have won for the last 30 years is probably what I would say.
Yeah, it's actually easier than any of these. Yeah, because
you don't have to work
every
around the
stunt
ones.
thing has been snubbed in the last.
Exactly. They're all losers.
What I don't even know is how does the stunt category work? Is it like covering like the stunt coordination for the whole project, or is it like one set piece? Probably the whole project, right? Even though it's really going to be about...
Yeah.
I'd say give it to the guy who was in the car going off the cliff.
Right, that's what I mean. Like, it feels like it should go to like the one who does a big centerpiece stunt or something like that.
Yeah, these movies have like 100 stuntmen in some cases or more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I think you got to give it to the whole movie.
Yeah, it's probably
even
like
though
stunt coordinator, supervisor, like the VFX supervisor gets the award for VFX, so it'd be like the stunt
Right.
coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Or, bring it back to sound editing. Like, you could make a case that it would make more sense to give the Oscar out specifically like for the nightclub scene in The Social Network.
Right, right.
But they're going to give it to the whole film
macro,
as
the macro.
yeah, the whole production. Yeah. But anyway, we're here to talk about. We're going to start off with best screenplay snubs here. This is an interesting one to me because I feel like we've kind of narrowed down with the acting awards what the Academy is mostly like rewarding, aiming for, and it's the veneer of historical pomp and magnitude and portraying torment is what I settled on. And what people think of as being a good screenplay, I think mostly boils down largely to witty, snappy dialogue. That's what jumps from the page off the screen into your audience's awareness of writing is going to be when there's Aaron Sorkin banter.
A lot of people will tell you that is not actually. It's like the easiest, least important part of a screenplay is the dialogue. William Goldman's big on that.
Yes, I would agree. I think screenplay construction is more about architecture and structuring, and that is a more important thing than making the dialogue as sharp and snappy as possible.
That said, a choice bone mow can live forever is the thing.
Yeah, you don't have to put down one thing to appreciate the other necessarily. Or you don't in theory, but in practice it feels like you have to.
People remember, forget it, Jake, it's Chinatown, not the fact that it had something to do with the water department or whatever. Nobody can tell you that there's some sort of a water issue in Los Angeles. I don't think most people can.
Well, and conversely, I think when a movie fails, people don't necessarily cite, they tend to cite bad dialogue, bad characterization, just somebody doing a dumb thing, a character doing a dumb thing in the movie or whatever, rather than cite, well, this is structurally unsound, that this movie does not move the way that my brain wants it to be moving and in the directions it wants it to. And so there's more tangible things to grab onto.
It's about the you don't look at a building and go, wow, that building has such good bones. Most of the time, It's really about the stuff on top of it, So it's by nature, it's supposed to be kind of invisible, right?
Yeah, I feel like oftentimes what people are negatively responding to, they have a hard time identifying, and sometimes that often is script based. Not always, but it's the script tends to get a lot of the blame sometimes. Just it was badly written is sort of it kind of tells you nothing as a criticism.
That's sort of what we're getting at. It's that when it does its job, a script becomes invisible in a way. Not 100% of the time, but a lot of the time when it's doing its job. I think Star Wars has an excellent script that people don't necessarily highlight that as a thing. And I guess it is like other categories in that what ends up being rewarded is not necessarily the best writing, but the most writing, the most ostentatious. The Tarantino is going to get nominated for his scripts because they don't sound like anybody else's.
It's also a category where they tend to reward movies that are a little too esoteric, a little too weird, a little too unusual to give the big prize to. This is what Get Out wins. I don't think Tarantino has never won Best Picture, Best Director. He's won Best Writer how many times at this point? Like
I think twice,
half a dozen. Okay, he's nominated almost every time.
Yeah, he's probably nominated for more of his movies than not.
It's not even just the Oscars that do this, because the one that threw me was after I saw The Substance, is that I think it was the Cannes Film Festival. It won Best Screenplay.
Yeah.
And that kind of was like, I don't know if that was the highest level, the best part of The Substance. Yeah, the movie is so odd that it wins awards. Like, we can't give it the best one, so let's give it screenplay. That's the kind of feeling I got.
All right, we've done a lot of table setting here. There's one other piece of table setting to do, though, which is the distinction between original screenplay and adapted screenplay. And I think traditionally that was adapted makes sense. It's a different topic. If you're taking a book or a play and making that into a movie script, that's different than inventing a story from whole cloth. One of the distinctions that I think they kind of tossed off early on, but has become more dominant and apparent now, is that any sequel is technically an adapted screenplay, as I understand it.
Yeah, it's
and now that we
definitely
live in an age where 60%
like,
of movies are sequels.
Like a character's based on, yada, yada, yada. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we live in an age where 60% of the movies are sequels and 90% of them are sequels or based on a character created by so-and-so. Or a product recently. Is the Nike Air Jordan origin movie, is that an adapted screenplay?
Of course. The Emoji Movie is an adapted screenplay where you're to nominate.
Actually, though, I do remember when I was doing some research, I remember there was like a screenplay, based on the real life of somebody, but it wasn't based on any specific like article or not like a book.
Yeah, that's a weird thing.
So that one was, I think, counted as original. I can't remember which movie it was, though.
That's right. If it's based on something true, but not a source material per se.
Like Vanity Fair didn't get there first.
Right. Yeah, and I can't. Damn it, I can't remember which movie it was, but that one made me go, huh? Yeah.
Okay, well, June, I think you're going to lead us off here.
All right.
With give us one of the most egregious snubs to not even be nominated for best screenplay.
For screenplay, and we're going to try to do it so that one pick is adapted and one pick is original, right? I'm going to try to.
That's what I'm going to do. You guys can do as you like.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to go for an odd one. I'm going to start with an odd one. This is going to help me pick because I don't know I can't remember whether to include this in original or adapted. And it's going to be James Cameron for The Terminator for 1984.
Oh, well, that's the first one.
Controversy abounds around that issue.
Right. Yeah, that's the topic helped me pick it. All right, so this is the one. So 1984. So the 1985 Oscars, the winners for adapted was Amadeus for Peter Shaffer. Which that one's great. So I have no complaints about that one winning. And for best written directly for the screen was for Robert Benton's Places in the Heart, which I have never seen. But anyway, we're all genre movie fans. We're big fans of James Cameron, Terminator, so I don't think I have to make my case in terms of, on the topic of structure, on the topic of how long it's lasted. But yeah, first one, Terminator.
But that's such a good example of kind of what we were talking about a minute ago, which is a movie where the writing, if successful, makes you think, man, there's like hardly even a script here. This is just an engine that moves forward so logically and inexorably that it feels like it's over faster than it is. And well, this story couldn't have played out any other way. So there couldn't have even been much writing to it. Not the case, I would say.
Tight, lean, economical.
It really is. But it's also like, it's such foundational science fiction text at this point. I mean, we were talking a little bit there about the authorship controversy in Harlan Ellison, I suppose, but it does feel like a sort of an amalgamation of the last 50 years of science fiction novels, and then has itself kind of become the bedrock for the next 50 years of science fiction movies. Yeah, in a lot of ways, it's just kind of one of those totemic films, and I think anything that achieves that status definitely should be considered, for any sort of story award, and this certainly has a sort of a polished gem of a screenplay, and it has a lot of the strengths that Cameron usually doesn't have, like economy. So I obviously love this one.
Yeah, it does a really good job of making the time travel simple. Like, I feel like a lot of movies that deal with time travel, it's just over complicated, and it's like, you spend half the movie trying to figure out how people are traveling through time. Whereas Terminator, very simple. I don't think you need to really, I mean, obviously you can pick it apart, of course, but it's just, okay, I get the logic within this movie, within this world, this makes sense. And I think that's a tough thing to do, and that movie did it really well.
Well, and it's up there with like the Alien and Aliens, I suppose, mostly Alien, in terms of world building and in the sci-fi context, especially giving you a feeling like there is such a big expansive world outside of this movie that we're seeing through this one very particular window into this world. Even other things are successful, like, Star Wars or Lord of the Rings are successful at doing that, even though they're telling much more epic stories that are closer to the center of those worlds. I suppose John Connor is the center of this world, but this is such a small movie with such huge implications about things that are going on outside of the frame that we're 9 sequels in or something now, even though only one of them has ever worked, really.
It's tough because, it's the sort of premise that you see the movie, and I guess this is moving beyond just the screenplayness of it, but it does seem like, well, I want to see so much more about all this. Maybe you don't actually, though. Maybe it's perfectly deployed amount of world building for the economical, like we can only shoot this thing in LA, over the course of 1 month for this amount of money. And those are the decisions driving a lot of the screenplay. Kind of amazing, really. And as such, the mythology and the lore of Cyberdyne and Skynet and the post-apocalyptic world is kind of best deployed, like, glancingly and through the window here. You're only seeing glimpses. You're only seeing a little of it because the promise of what it is and what they have here is kind of best used in that way. And I guess Terminator 2 kind of puts the light of that a little. But then there are the rest of the films. So, it's perfect T2 for this size.
T2 is just like an expansion of the first movie. It's essentially the same kind of movie, just branched out to kind of like from El Mariachi to Desperado. Just we have a bigger budget. Let's try some cooler stuff now. But it's for the most part the same structure. And then, and especially since it's time travel, the more you build upon that, the more questions there are, and it kind of breaks the cleanness of it all, which the other sequels just keep showing and showing and showing because they just stack more hats on top of something that's already just perfectly itself.
But it breaks the time travel in a way that cleanliness you're talking about, but in a way that makes it a companion piece of the first movie, where there's sort of a clear thesis antithesis thing going on there. And then that messiness just gets exponentially more messy each other time they try and go back to the well.
Like even the building of the hero and the villain, the Schwartz Arnold versus Michael Biehn. You could only do that flip one more time with the T2, where the big guy is now the hero and the lean guy is now the villain. And then from there, what do? Now it's a woman. Now it's nanomachines. Now it's the blah 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 blah.
You know what's interesting there about the world beyond the frame, and you're saying it turns out it's weird to praise the writing for doing less, but it turns out that the world outside of this movie is sketched in with just the right amount of fuzziness, and actually, I think that is something kind of unique to the art of screenwriting, is that it is about cutting out, doing as much as possible with as little as possible, doing more with less. It's all particularly if you're doing it adapted, I suppose. But it really is, as opposed to a novel, which can be built out to whatever length and depth you want. It is just about how can you do the most with the fewest seconds of screen time and suggest the most. And that is, again, maybe that's the odd thing about doing a best screenplay is in a word format that is built around rewarding the most of everything, whereas the art of screenwriting is doing the least or the least visible to such a large degree.
Knowing when to stop, knowing how to shape the gym.
Of course, that applies to just about every department technically too, because even like screenplays, people write it out and then in editing they find, oh, it turns out we didn't need this. Like visually, performance wise, we could take this stuff out and you still get it just by this one cut. Whereas in a screenplay, maybe you felt like you really did need it. But even then, like everybody at every given moment of a production is trying to figure out, how do we get this, technically they should be thinking, how do we get this more economical? Like from screenplay, you do your job there, and then it goes to the next stage, and people are whittling it down to its base element that gets the point across emotionally, logically, without having to stack hats on top of hats.
Yeah, and I would even say that it's not necessarily that the script is wrong when when you do find in editing that you can cut things down. It doesn't mean that you didn't need the scenes in the script, because you might realize you get that you get those. This 4-page scene can be 2 pages because you get so much from the performance, but you might only get the performance from the actor because they got to read the extra 2 pages.
Right, and it's like it makes me think of the Michael Mann thing. It's like in terms of like his writing and his screenplays, he has so much he makes so much backstory for all his characters that will never be in the actual movie, but even that is, essentially whittling stuff down for his screenplay, so that, but then his actors know it, so yeah, like every step of the way, trying to do it a lot with the least.
Well, Chris, what's your pick going to be? Is it somebody doing a lot with a little, or are you going maximalist?
Yeah, I'm going to kind of follow in June's footsteps here. I think my pick is kind of right in the same ballpark. I'm gonna go with for 19...
It's a Terminator 2?
No, not that quite the same, but it's
okay.
It's a character that has faced off with the Terminator in other media. I'm gonna go with the 1987 script for RoboCop by Ed Neumeyer and Michael Miner. I think this is a script that when you watch this movie, or at least when I watch this movie as a 10-year-old, you're like, oh, hey, cool. There's a guy who's a robot and he's shooting up everybody, and that's pretty awesome. And hey, this is a great movie. But then, when you're watching it years down the line, you're like, okay, well, it's still very cool that there's this guy looking like a robot who's shooting up everybody and all that. But man, it's just so much great satire in this script. I mean, just how it treats, big business and the media and advertising. And I just think it's just very vivid characters. Basically, RoboCop is essentially Jesus Christ. I mean, it's all right there. And, so it works on all the levels, the story, the dialogue, the characters. The world building, I think, is amazing. You really have this great vision of what this old Detroit was or is in the movie, and I think it's just a phenomenal script. And that year, the one that I would probably bump from that year. The winner was Moonstruck. That script, fine, that's okay. Go ahead and keep that. But Woody Allen for Radio Days. I've seen Radio Days. I don't know. It's like I feel like,
No.
that was just kind of like here. It's Woody Allen. Here's your nomination, and that's that. So I would bump him and go with Newmeyer and Miner for RoboCop.
I don't think you're getting an argument here. I'm willing to bet my mortgage that was on John's short list as well as my own.
Well, sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I would say, you mentioned the whole Christ allegory thing here. I think my general rule would be that I would dock any script 10 best screenplay points for having a main character who's a Christ figure at this point. Except in RoboCop's case, where it's done so cheekily so brilliantly and original. It's great. that layer on it is so it's so goofy, and I love it.
Yeah, it's
very much.
And it is similar to Terminator in that there have been so many attempts with that character, with movies and TV shows and Canadian miniseries, and they even though I kind of I do like
games.
Oh yes, and I do like RoboCop 2, but all in all, they just none of them have really ever been able to come close to what they pulled off in the first film, and I think it's largely you can get the same actors, you can get the same kind of look and the same kind of sets, but that script, you can't duplicate that original script.
I remember when I went to go see the Seattle Cinerama had a sci-fi festival, and they played a lot of classic genre movies, and RoboCop was one of them. And I'd seen the movie before, but it wasn't a big mainstay for me when I was a kid. Really violent. I don't know if I was able to take that at the time, but going to see it as an adult that time, and then the final moment, he's like, "What's your name, son?" He's like, "Murphy." And it just cuts to RoboCop. I was like, and it just makes me go, "Yes!" It's that that's there's nothing about all the build up to that. It's just a moment somebody saying their name. That's a screenplay, right? And that's economy that we were just talking about. No, you don't need anything more after that.
The roster of supporting characters in RoboCop is kind of exceptional as well.
Oh, yeah.
Is there a better 80s bad guy than Clarence Boddicker? I mean, he's in a death battle with Hans Gruber, in my opinion. For
pretty
that,
much,
it's
I mean, the corporate goons are so great too, though. There,
like the Miguel Ferreira character, for example. You're not sure how you feel about him. You're kind of like, well, I guess he's a bad guy, but I'm kind of rooting for him anyway.
He's just not as bad as the people he's working for.
He's chasing the same brass ring, though. He's the same sort of dehumanized kind of prick, but he's our dehumanized prick. Yeah.
Yeah, I might give Hans Gruber the edge on Clarence Boddicker and the goon 80s goon thing, but then I might take Miguel Ferrer over Ellis in the corporate goon. So I think it's still a split decision between Die Hard and RoboCop.
Bring back corporate goons in our movies. What happened?
Yeah. I guess William Atherton probably edges Die Hard over the Dick Jones character, probably.
He's basically like the kind of the godfather of just asshole characters. It's like they're not like the outright villains, but he's just pricks. He's Ghostbusters.
Like you hate them more than the actual antagonist or something, right?
Yeah, they don't need to be the villain. They're not the villain of the movie, but they are pricks, like you said. I guess in Real Genius, he's the villain of the movie.
Yeah, like if
technically the villain. No, I guess Gozer's the villain. Right?
Yeah, Gozer's the Ghostbusters. Just like that.
I mean, if you could pick who to hang out with for dinner, Hans Gruber or Dick Thornburg, everyone's going to want to hang out with Hans Gruber.
Yeah, even though he might shoot you in the head.
Maybe.
It's just fun to talk to him. If you don't piss him off, you figure it's going to be fine.
Yes.
It's so powerful. The Atherton's is like, I hate it when people yell at the street "dickless" on the street at me.
That is unfortunate.
yeah. It's just like
the dark side.
You're that good in those roles.
Yeah, the dark side of being an icon. Okay. Well, there's not going to be any argument about RoboCop being deserving of this. So I think I'm going to go next here. I am going smaller for original screenplay. I am going to nominate Rounders from 1998.
All right.
This year, the award went to Shakespeare in Love. And then there's other nominees, I believe. Bulworth, Life is Beautiful, The Truman Show, Saving Private Ryan. All good scripts, probably. And haven't actually seen Life is Beautiful, but
It's a good script, yes.
And Saving Private Ryan and Truman Show are well thought of movies that are well written. I want to say Bulworth, the most interesting thing about it is the script, probably.
Yeah.
And I don't want to vouch for the execution there. But Rounders, to me, is a really great low-key movie, kind of a classic among a certain cohort of men my age. But it's the best poker movie ever made, which is, a subject dear to my heart. And I find that poker is a very difficult thing to dramatize. I've been trying to write a poker movie myself for a while. It's really difficult because the rules are really arcane. Getting into the weeds of like which 5-card combinations beat which other ones, and to people that aren't initiated, that can be hard to parse, and the strategies revolving around that are even more so. And then you get to issues where, like, the more elite you get with the play, the harder the strategy is to parse, because you end up with people making plays for these huge galaxy-brained reasons that also happen to be the exact same move that an idiot playing their first hand might do.
Casino Royale.
That's a really difficult thing to parse, and that's why usually they go the route of Maverick or Casino Royale, where they just say, well, this guy got the best a royal flush, so therefore that's like hitting a grand slam, right? That means he's
what
the best.
could be more dramatic than getting a royal flush? Yeah.
Well, that's what Rounders solves. And on top of that, as a challenge for the movies, is poker is a game that's played sitting down in chairs, where the people involved are mostly struggling to emote as little as possible. So that presents acting challenges and cinematography challenges on top of everything else.
It's the tell, Al. It's the tell.
Yes. Yes, if somebody's not actually leaking blood from their eyes, it can be hard to dramatize what a tell looks like.
But I mean, is the cookies? Is that almost as? I feel like it's not. I feel like it's not
up there,
that far off.
It's up there. I mean, well, it's portrayed a lot better here, I would say, and it's great use of voiceover, which can be a crutch and used badly. This is great voiceover, and I think it does have to make some concessions to making poker legible to newcomers and exciting, but it manages to do that, I think, without doing too much violence to the realities of the game, and I think it does that mostly through its script, and particularly there's a way that Rounders skins this cat 4 different ways by making this like 4 different breeds of movie at once. So there's at least 4, maybe there's another. You can look at this as a gambling movie and compare it to, The Gambler, California Split, or whatever, and it's one of the best ones of those. You could also look at it structurally as a sports movie. That's kind of like about a Rocky 2 of a guy who gets, or maybe Rocky 3, where Mr. T knocks him out at the beginning and he has to spend the whole movie getting his mojo back to take down Teddy KGB in this case.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's also kind of a 70s style character study about a rocky friendship between this sort of more or less upstanding guy from the neighborhood and his toxic loser of a childhood pal. So it's got some mean streaks or Mikey and Nicky in its DNA. And then there's another way that I think you look at it, where I compare it to something like a Whiplash or a Black Swan, where it's a killing yourself for your art movie, where he has to destroy his relationship, but not just with a friend and with his girlfriend, and drop out of law school. But ultimately, that's kind of okay. He does get the brass ring he's chasing for, or at least a shot at it at the end, and he's satisfied with that, even though he's sort of cut everything else out of his life. So it's not that different from Whiplash in the end to me. And it mashes all those things together into a package that is still just pretty easily watchable and digestible.
There's more. There's the jargon. There's the all the crazy exposition and poker words and phrases and make-em-ups that they use in this movie. Those are really well deployed. I love the ensemble of goofy side characters. They're all Teddy KGB or Nikki Kanish or all these sort of larger than life types that is juggling. It's
got Michael Rispoli in there as a loan shark named Grandma.
Oh yeah, that's right. I would have to ding this on Gretchen Mall basis, and
that's not
poor
Screenplay
Gretchen.
basis, though.
no, it is. I
Or you
think
mean the
she's a good actress.
character.
I think yeah, I think it's the character. And it ruins her career totally. It's sort of the most egregious version of the disapproving girlfriend in film.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
I think so. It's sort of the poster child in my mind,
Really? Okay.
But
I don't know. Maybe I just came into it
such a
understanding her perspective so thoroughly. Like she stood by him through the first Wipeout with the not even the very explicit agreement that we're not doing this again. So he starts to do it again. She pieces out with pretty little without histrionics, I guess.
It makes sense that she would behave that way, but it is the character that doesn't want the protagonist to do his protagonist thing.
Don't get in the way of great men.
Yeah.
Right, but because she does it without the histrionics, I think it's free of the sort of overtones of misogyny that come with that, where you're grinding your teeth and hating the character on the screen.
The Skylar White thing, that's what people reacted to. It's like, don't get in the way.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's too just
Gretchen,
she had to do it for years and years.
Mm-hmm. Gretchen Mol doesn't help the situation really. I don't blame her, but it's it's not her best work. Put it that way. It's that's the only real thing I have about Rounders, though. It's a delight. I would say this is the closest anyone's gotten to doing what Scorsese does with voiceover. It's the only thing I can think that kind of plays in the same way that Goodfellas or something like that does. It's confident, really cool.
Goodfellas has an equally sort of closed off subculture and levels of jargon.
Yeah,
to hold our hand through.
Maybe that's part of it. Honestly, it might be. Just that it's nice to have a guide into the world.
I haven't seen this movie since I was a kid, and I've never been you couldn't tell me the poker stuff. I don't play, so that stuff it's just not in for me. So when I saw this as a kid, the only thing I really remember from the movie is just Edward Norton's character, because I was a Norton fan back then. And I remember thinking, wow, he's really, but my emotional reaction was he's so annoying. Why doesn't Matt Damon just leave him? He's right. So,
he does.
I'd be really curious to watch it now. I'm not talking about leave him right away from the very get-go, but as opposed to the ending. But I should watch this one again. I feel like I'd appreciate it a lot more given everything that you've discussed just now.
Oh, you'd love it, man. It's a good time. It's a good 90s movie.
It is.
Yeah.
A good 70s by way of the 90s movie.
Right.
It's got 70s vibes. It's kind of I don't know, John, this isn't necessarily a screenplay thing, but does it hold up for you as a New York movie?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, I'm not overly versed in the world of underground poker here.
Yeah.
I'm no expert, but I don't need to be. It's the gig work and all that stuff that reigns true. The proximity to other locations that you can go to for things. This is a New York movie for sure.
Yeah, let's go out and get a hot dog at 9 a.m. on the street, bleary eyed, and then maybe we have to drive up to Binghamton for this game or whatever. But
yeah,
that's doable in a day and all that. Okay. So maybe this script doesn't fully solve the disapproving girlfriend role, but it solves so much else so elegantly for me that I still think I give it the edge over Bulworth and Shakespeare in Love. That's my conclusion.
Okay. Those are both good screenplays. They are. But that, I hear you. I hear you on this.
All right. John, now you're going to do two picks on the turn.
Okay. All right. I'm going to take you over to 1988. This is going to be my adapted screenplay winner. And it's going to be for a guy who could have been nominated for a lot of things. He's only been nominated once for writing the film First Reformed in 2019. I'm nominating Paul Schrader for his screenplay for The Last Temptation of Christ. Could have been Taxi
I did not even
Driver.
realize he wrote that.
Oh, he absolutely wrote the fuck out of it. It's a real Paul Schrader kind of movie. Yeah. I adore this film. And I think it's kind of a little overshadowed by its controversy and how weird it is as a premise. You know, I think the decision to cast a bunch of New York actors as the cast of the Jesus Christ story is it's odd and takes getting used to. It's kind of one of the film's charms for me at this point.
But might also be something that obfuscates the screenplay level, because that's not on the page. I don't think that the screenplay says, Judas, like, parenthetical heavy Brooklyn accent.
He acts like a guy who would have a heavy Brooklyn accent, though, in this film, for sure. You can't take the Schrader out of the Schrader necessarily. I like all that, though. But really what this is about is like, it's just the most radical and amazing take on religion I think that anyone's ever put to film, or at least I don't know. There's probably some crazy European shit that would angle for that title as well. But like the Holy Mountain,
maybe. Exactly. I was gonna say El Topo, but Holy Mountain's even better. Does that even count though? That's like so
right
off the wall. Like, if you think about it, Dune is a really weird religious text, but no, this is real world religion.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, going for the throat, man. This one is, this one is saying all the stuff you're not supposed to say. This is George Carlin doing his routine on the questions you're not supposed to ask in Sunday school.
It's doing that by hewing closer to actual Christian orthodoxy than Holy Mountain.
Yes,
but.
I'm not a religious man. I'm not Christian. When I watch The Last Temptation of Christ, I feel like maybe there's something to this. Maybe I got to look into this. And it really does tackle the idea of God and man in one being in a way that is so much more interesting and so much more emotionally affecting and visceral than anything I've ever heard from a more approved and sanctified kind of religious source. It really questions identity. It really gets into what this would be, and by hewing to the human side of it, which I think people tend to not really want to talk about with Christ. Like, really, he didn't have sex at all? Really? We're sure about that? Like, we're going to get into that a little. What's that like? What was that?
And how cool was he with that? Was that?
Yeah. Not very, as it turns out. Or at least as presupposed here. And
that becomes an interesting question, actually. Is it, if you're from a Christian perspective and your Christ is your hero figure, is he more heroic if he was really mad that he couldn't have sex but forwent it anyway, or is he more a pure figure if he had no sex drive whatsoever?
Yeah,
that's just part of his divinity.
That's how he's usually presented, though, Yeah. And this, he talks about being scared and angry, and of course the third act of this thing, the most infamous, where he accepts a bargain from the devil to climb off the cross and go have sex and children and live a full life. I mean, like, you see that and you're just like, holy shit, you're going for it. This is the bravest goddamn movie I've ever seen, and I think
it back.
Yeah, well, it has to, because it is ultimately about Jesus Christ. It's not really. It's not any sort of like.
Well, it's not a Inglorious Bastards rewriting of history.
No, but it's also like
everybody knows Christ was crucified on the hill of Golgotha. But what this movie presupposes is.
But it is ultimately a demonstration of Scorsese's faith, and I presume Schrader's as well, if you wrote it. I mean, it's adapted from the novel by Nikos Kazantzakis, which I haven't read, but I assume that's where these ideas come from. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not up on my Kazantzakis, but yeah, it's just a hell of a piece of work, and the kind of screenplay that you're just like, wow, that's wow, you're really going for it there, man. That one's intense. And, I happen to kind of love the filming that Scorsese made out of it, too. So it all works for me. I think it does for most people who aren't angry about it. It's not as well seen as a lot of Scorsese's great films, or Schrader's for that point. But I think
It doesn't
belongs in
doesn't
company
get
with them.
run on AMC as much as Goodfellas. It doesn't really. You don't see a lot
Well,
of airings for it. It doesn't. Tonight, Last Temptation.
It's
it
not a
doesn't
butt
fit
magnet.
into the Scorsese marathon, that just goes cleanly from Casino or Goodfellas Casino to Departed or whatever.
Brought to you with limited commercial interruption.
Yeah. You got to do the less fun triple header, which is Last Temptation, Silence, and to Killers of the Flower Moon.
Well, you gotta,
It will take your whole weekend.
and then you throw in Kundun, which you can't even find anymore. It's like
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
buried.
Yeah. Mm.
But hey, Marty, I liked it.
Exactly.
Okay, so not a bad pick. You are unfortunately stuck with the second best depiction of Christ on film in the draft so far.
That's right. You're number 2.
After,
Well, he's more mortal than RoboCop could ever be. Is the problem?
In no way is Willem Dafoe a mortal man. In no way.
That's true.
Okay, so this was up against. Let me read this: Dangerous Liaisons, which wins; The Accidental Tourist, Gorillas in the Mist, Little Dorrit, and The Unbearable Lightness of Being. You can get one of those out of there.
Yeah, the Accidental
any
Tourist.
of them, frankly.
How did the Accidental Tourist get a whole bunch of nominations? And I've seen that movie. It's like, oh god, that movie is just it's like Lifetime movie on steroids. It's terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I've never seen any of those movies, so I think I can speak to them. I recognize some of the titles.
Liaisons is worth it. Liaisons is a pretty terrific movie. Pretty great screenplay. No real complaint there, but Last
I
Temptation.
wonder. So I'm seeing Accidental Tourist was directed by Lawrence Kasdan.
Yep.
Is this a makeup nomination for something for Empire Strikes Back or The Big Chill or something that got snubbed?
I think it was
sure. I think he's won, right? He has won something, Mr. Kasdan, I believe.
I mean, he just kind of
Big Chill was nominated for everything.
in that era, he was like the boomer filmmaker kind of that time. I mean, it's like, oh, Lawrence Kasdan, he's Big Chill and all that kind of stuff. And but I don't know. I like Gina Davis, and I guess it's good for her that she won an Oscar because I like her overall. But that movie was bleh.
No, never won. Nominated for Tourist, Big Chill, and Grand Canyon. Another kind of ponderous, like, why'd they like that one?
You want a movie that beats you over the head with symbolism is Grand Canyon. Oh my god. But,
sort of Crash before Crash.
Yeah, but I do like Steve Martin's good as
that's actually a whole subgenre probably.
Steve Martin's pretty good as like a Joel Silver sort of producer. I do like him in it, but it's like that movie is, oh man, I mean, it's almost funny just how over the head it wants to beat you over the head with its message.
Well, I mean, Kasdan should have won for Raiders probably. That's a pretty awesome screenplay too. But that's not my thing.
Maybe somebody will still have the opportunity to give him Empire.
That too.
But if you're sticking with an original as your next pick, I don't think you're going to chase The Big Chill. So
I'm not. It also, was nominated, but no, I am going to pick.
Yeah, I can't.
I'm going to pick for my original screenplay. I'm going to go with. You guys have heard me go on about this one, I'm sure. From the great film year 1999, which a number of great films were nominated, and that would be American Beauty, being John Malkovich, Magnolia, The Sixth Sense, and Topsy Turvy, all good screenplays.
It's not a bad class.
Yeah. This is also the Fight Club year, a few other big ones, But the thing I would nominate, written by David Howard and Robert Gordon, the film Galaxy Quest.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
A perfect screenplay, as anointed so by David Mamet, of course.
Really? I thought that was just a general internet consensus. I didn't know Mamet was a fan.
Mamet weighed in on one of his books and was like, and used it as an example of a perfect screenplay, and he's right. It's a perfect
along with the Godfather. He's like the Godfather and Galaxy Quest.
Hand in
hand. Kind of expertly figured out. Like this thing has like every single scene builds towards the next one. Every single scene develops the characters, extends the plot and the themes of the film. It is kind of immaculate and diamond cut, which is really weird to think about for a Star Trek parody. It is probably, I mean, arguably, if not the best Star Trek movie, one of the best. I think it probably is the best technically. I mean, just because it's just kind of a perfect thing. There are, I don't know, 10 characters with complete arcs in this thing. They also got lucky with the casting and a lot of other sort of intangibles to realize all these things. You know, you put like a person like Alan Rickman.
Like Tim Allen, yeah.
Yeah, well, Tim Allen is kind of amazing casting.
He is great in it.
I know, I was just trying
he
to
really
is.
I mean,
it's a wonderful performance. I mean, he's kind of doing a Buzz Lightyear thing a little bit, which, you know, is kind of his other agreed upon good performance.
True.
Turns out he's really good at sort of a fatuous spaceman.
But people are here for Rickman, Shalhoub, Rockwell.
But it's not just those. I mean, it's impressive that Tony Shalhoub has an arc, you know, in this thing, or Sam Rockwell, or any of these characters, you know, because it's an ensemble, you know, a larger ensemble because it's an entire Starfleet crew essentially. But then the alien races also have characters with arcs and stories that get resolved and in a meaningful way. And yes, it's just Three Amigos, you know, it really is. It's literally just that as a premise. But when you do it as well, when you kind of nail every stop along the way of your structure,
it's taking some wind out of my next selection of Three Amigos.
I mean, it took that premise and it did it way better. I mean, it's way better than Three Amigos. I mean, it's again, it's like it's such a great combination of premise, screenplay, and casting, and it's like they all come together, and it's like you said. I mean, it's I don't know if I would say it's better than some of the high end Star Trek movies, but
right.
But it's pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's just got so much setup and payoff. You know, it's this kind of stuff you love to see, especially in a family comedy. It's nuts to, you know, have something this polished, you know, in something that's supposed to play on TNT on a Sunday. And it is somehow. This one feels like a mistake, honestly. How good this movie is. It's it should not be.
Yeah, it feels like something that kind of an upstart studio that doesn't maybe know exactly what they're doing all the time just kind of throws a bunch of money at. And usually those are not supposed to do well at all. But, you know, this time it all came together and it did work perfectly.
I wonder how much those guys had a hand in shaping this, you know. Like Spielberg, you know, he's not credited on this film at all, but he's trying to make DreamWorks work.
Sure.
And this seems like the sort of thing he would have an input in a meaningful way.
Like Ridley Scott talks about it with was it with Gladiator was DreamWorks, American Beauty was DreamWorks, and I recall stories about like Spielberg putting his input in on, you know, like certain cuts or something like that. So probably, right?
Yeah, especially the beginning, like this was. Mm-hmm.
A movie so good that Trekkies included like as an unofficial, you know, best of, you know, Trek movie, right?
Yeah, I mean, it has such a complete sense and understanding of why people like Star Trek, you know, and hits the things that they want to see in that movie. Like everything that happens in this is what you want to see, you know. Even the downbeats, you know, are moments that are needed, you know, to give the thing its triumphs later. It's just, you know, when it comes to making a normal movie, there are a few better, you know, than Galaxy Quest.
A spoof that doesn't look down upon what it's making.
I was just going to say
from the beginning, right? Yeah.
Well, especially like, you know, in terms of the fans, you know, in the movie, like Justin Long and those kind of characters, it's like you could do a lot of real easy jokes that would would be really, really punching down. But I don't feel like it has obviously jokes with those characters, but it's not the obvious stuff. It's not just these losers. Look at this, isn't this funny? They avoids all that, and it's for the better.
Like the meanest it gets about it, I feel like, is that like the random guys in the bathroom that Tim Allen the bathroom that Tim Allen Tim Allen overhears. And it's like, wait, if these guys are like mocking this, why are they even here? It's a Galaxy Quest convention. It's like kind of the one gimme.
I saw
that's the sort of the Oreo cookie tell at Founders. Like, you got to give him
right, yeah.
Of
like,
screenplay conceit.
You need it.
You need him to do that.
It gets the point done right. Okay, then we move on.
There is a note on those guys. I saw one of the writers. I don't know these guys by name, so I don't remember which one it was, talking about that scene. Or it was a written interview. I didn't see it. But I read one of them saying, like, yeah, they're the only characters in the movie other than the bad guy who are cynics. They're the only ones kind of that are paired with him in that way. And I had an ending where when the ship crashes into the convention hall, they get decapitated. And everyone made me take it out.
There's also a weird... So you're saying that this is pretty gentle to the fans ultimately, but it probably does maintain some resonance over time. And it's gained stature on the internet because it's prescient in being about fan culture. In a fan culture being a thing writ large, that's just gained power over time. It's become a big cultural force. Those fans, including the cynics in the bathroom, are in charge of some of these big IPs now. And I feel like 20 years later, if you're making this movie, it is probably nastier about it because the creatives have more resentment built up towards the fan bases.
It's one of the reasons I'm really glad that the whatever sequel or TV streaming series never happened, partly because, Alan Rickman passed away, but, unfortunately, but I'm kind of glad that, the movie gets just to be its thing and just leave it at that.
It would be hard to see them matching, what they achieved in the first one. That would be difficult. And it's kind of nice as its own perfect little isolated thing, You can kind of just imagine, the larger world of Galaxy Quest that is implied, and not unlike the Terminator, I guess. We're maybe better off at not getting to see that. We have that already. It's Star Trek, This is a specific riff on that thing and what it means culturally, rather than I don't know how much juice there is to be learning more about the Thermians or seeing what that alien in a throwaway shot was from the original series that they show on the screen. Like, do we need those answers? No, not really. In some ways it detracts from the original thing. So that's good. I'm very happy about that, actually. Not about Alan Rickman being dead, but
right.
About them not doing it anymore.
That was a big cost at the expense of not doing a
silver lining, perhaps. Yeah.
Alan Rickman, our latest, this draft's latest Messiah figure that died to protect us from.
Yeah. Take that, RoboCop. Take that, Jesus. Alan Rickman.
Okay.
Did you guys ever watch this is not about the screenplay of it, but the one of the documentaries that came out, the fan documentary for Galaxy Quest that came out. And there's an anecdote about, Tim Allen having to take a moment after like the big dramatic scene in the movie. And then Alan Rickman goes, "Oh, look, he finally acted," or something like that. That's Alan Rickman.
I think he just discovered acting.
He just discovered acting. No.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the cast actually has almost the exact dynamic that they do in the film. Seems to be the case. Like, Sigourney and Rickman really didn't like Tim Allen, apparently.
That Rickman quote is a thing. It's like, even if that wasn't true, you just want it to be true so much that it's anyway. All right, we got to keep moving along here.
Yeah, we're running. Yeah, okay.
I'm going next. I found, as we've now done 4 of these episodes, every time a top contender in every single category, it seems like for me, is The Princess Bride. And because it's just a fucking perfect movie, and also a perfect adapted screenplay. It's a writer adapting their own book, I suppose, the book The Princess Bride. Also a great little work in its own right. And what it gets into there more is how he's telling the story of how, my father read me, or my grandfather read me this book, and I always thought it was this ripping adventure yarn until I was a grown up and decided to revisit it and found out actually it was this 500-page book that had a whole lot of the Kingdom of Gilder's version of Tom Bombadil and Hobbit songs and all this stuff about their tax system and blah blah blah. I only realized as an adult that my grandpa had cut it down to this 600-page really slow tome to the 70 pages of swashbuckling adventure stuff that's fantastic. And even the movie has the Peter Falk grandfather character sort of editing that explicitly, okay, we'll skip forward to this part now. And this is William Goldman, maybe the best to ever do the thing, commenting on the art of screenwriting I'm talking about. It's about cutting down the slow parts, cutting out that what can we get rid of? Can we just jump to the fire swamp from here? And do we miss anything we really need to know? Not really. And it's very astute with that. Also, line by line, you can stack it up, like you're saying. A good, how many lines from this movie have lived on in the firmament of moviedom?
More than didn't, maybe. It could be more than half the lines in this thing.
I'm actually really surprised that it wasn't nominated. I didn't know that. That's this one of those where you go, what?
Yeah, it is.
Yes, I looked it up 5 times to be sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's
this
probably
year, the Last
best
Emperor one this year.
Yeah. It's probably the best William Goldman screenplay, which is no small feat either. All right. I mean, he's done some good ones, that's for sure.
Yeah, if you want to take Bush and Sundance, I won't argue with you, but I give it to this.
Yeah, I had Misery on my short list. I think that's kind of an amazing piece of work. But yeah, Princess Bride is just eternal. And
it's a movie about a book, a fictional book, but it's a movie about the magic of books too, which is kind of a difficult, I think, obviously this movie makes everything look so easy and simple. But maybe that's more difficult not to crack. The other thing I appreciate about it now, especially, is Goldman's very astute about how the character of Wesley is such a Mary Sue. And that's so much fun for the first hour, but he's also very aware that's only fun for about half a movie. There's no satisfying third act conflict that revolves around the world's biggest badass just clowning on these doofus villains even more. So he cripples him halfway through. And then the back half allows the supporting characters to step up. And that, the supporting characters are fantastic because Andre the Giant and Mandy Patinkin are so lovable, but it also just generally keeps us off balance, even in this fairy tale world where we think we know. And Fred Savage is, speaking for the frustration of that. They go, what do you mean? He's upset that the nice character got hurt or got killed ostensibly, but also just upset that no, this is not how the structure of these things are supposed to go. And that allows there to be a sort of suspense to the third act. That's less about worrying that the bad guys are really going to win, and more just being unsure of what's going to happen next and how this is going to play out. And it's really just well done that way.
I remember when I was a child and I saw it, I was terrified the bad guys were going to win because I was able to identify it as satire. Yeah. I thought, I don't know, this is kind of taking the piss out of fairy tales, so maybe we're not safe after all. Rather like the Fred Savage Kid. Yeah. That's kind of how, I wouldn't think that now, I imagine. But as a kid, there is the peril. Yeah.
Yeah. Fred Savage was us in our generation. He was.
Now we're Peter Falk.
Wonder Years and this. And The Wizard, of course. And Little Monsters with Howie Mandel. My other.
Oh, yeah.
I considered that one for
best
for original.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But we're not breaking tons of all new ground here with RoboCop and Princess Bride. Yes, we love these movies. But now it's Chris's turn.
Okay, yeah. So I will go for an adapted screenplay, and I'm gonna go back to the year 2005, and I'm gonna go ahead and give a nomination to Shane Black for Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Which is based on a novel, Bodies Are Where You Find Them. Very loosely.
I didn't even realize that was
It's very loosely based. It's, I think what you learn with Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is is probably true of a lot of the books that it's kind of paying homage to is that the actual case means nothing. It doesn't matter. It's not really all that important. It's the characters, it's the dialogue, it's the adventures that they have, and I think Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is full of so many great lines and just great characters that you just want to hang out with for hours on end. And it was it's kind of an interesting movie because it's like Robert Downey Jr. and Val Kilmer, they kind of were at maybe the same level when it was made, and then they just kind of went in these totally opposite directions after it came out. And but they're both amazing in it. And I think Shane Black, obviously kind of known for Lethal Weapon and Last Boy Scout, things like that. And I mean, I love all those scripts too. But in terms of having kind of everything coming together, I would go ahead and give him the nomination for Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Basically, for that year, the one for adapted screenplay, the winner was for Brokeback Mountain. But the one that was nominated that I'd probably bounce is for Capote. I don't know. I'm not really a huge Capote guy. It just seems like a total.
That's odd. I would have guessed.
Yeah, well, so I was surprised.
Mid-century historical biopics, that's not your jam?
What I was surprised that was nominated that year, and I was happily surprised because I didn't remember this, was the script for History of Violence got nominated. I was like, oh, hey, that's great.
That's a cool nomination.
Yeah,
that's a good adaptation.
Yeah. So
who wrote that one?
For History of Violence? Okay, was it somebody
like, I'm trying to remember. Was somebody well known?
As we all know, it was directed by David Cronenberg, and it was written by.
Did he write it himself? Is the question I have.
Josh Olson, the great Josh Olson.
Yeah. Oscar nominee, Josh Olson, of course. Yes.
Yeah. Well, Shane Black is one of those writers that has such a voice. That is up there with Sorkin and Mamet and whatever. Like they are sort of the auteur screenwriters. And
we've been talking about doing a Shane Black series on this show, just to change things up because he has such a voice. Yeah,
but so for that reason, you'd think that they would get a lot of nominations because they write the loudest. They're doing the most writing. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is one of the most loudly written movies that I've ever seen, and I don't
works in the wrong genre.
Yeah,
for the Oscars.
Yeah. That's part of it too. I think the also thing is Shane Black maybe was also famous for being the highest paid.
Right.
Yeah, there was a lot of kind of, I don't know, want to call it haterade. Kind of, I think that was sort of thrown on him because it was just, he was for a while, he was the only writer that would get in the news because of a script that sold for 1.7 million. And, this script went for 2 million. And he was, in a way, I feel like he was almost kind of not, obviously, he wasn't directing back then, but he was kind of Tarantino before Tarantino arrived, in terms of just having that presence and this is a Shane Black script. And it's oh my goodness, this is, it's and then
kind
Tarantino,
of an enfant terrible.
Yeah. And so I don't think he was ever really in the running for any kind of awards. He was just getting paid like crazy.
Yeah. He's the legal
guy. Do you mention he's working in these disreputable genres? And I think there's the thing that kind of touched on one or two episodes back of, we asked the question why is the Academy have such a hard time nominating big popular movies? And it's maybe just the popularity and all the money in the world is already the reward enough. Maybe giving Shane Black his flowers is not their top priority.
On the topic of just what we talked about earlier about screenplays being structure, it's supposed to be invisible, right? The funny thing about this Shane Black thing, which I'm all for him getting nominated for this Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, but the thing that he got famous for was that his screenplays were not just structure; they were heavily peppered with just asides and stuff that the movie itself would never have. It's just to get
spoke to the reader.
It spoke to the person reading it and maybe passing it along to somebody, right? So that's its own kind of special sauce that it had. But that voice still somehow makes it into, the work in some way because it was so strong.
Apparently, when everyone was ripping him off in the late 80s, early 90s, that was like every screenplay had the sort of interior jokes for the reader. Yeah. That was, so they had to stop doing it.
It's like a clickbait, a clickbait for screenplays.
Exactly. And that's probably much like clickbait, probably works the first couple times and then is enraging after you've been overexposed to it.
Like the first page, nope, you're gone.
Right.
Is there an MCU without Kiss Kiss Bang Bang?
No.
Straight probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately, this movie was technically a flop in theaters. I don't think anybody saw it. It was totally on video. It got live.
Came
I
and
did.
went.
I was one of the few.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was probably gone its second weekend from most theaters, I'm sure, because it had no advertising behind it. It just kind of was well, here's this movie. We'll dump it in 300 so theaters for one weekend and see what we can do on the
over
DVD
Christmas,
sales.
right?
I think it was a November.
As a Shane Black movie, it's set at Christmas.
It is set, yeah.
And,
but yeah, I want to say it was a November.
Because of that, when they don't know what to do with the movie, there's well, it's set at Christmas. We should release it at Christmas. But even though it's probably a really bad time for this particular movie.
The thing that Chris was talking about when he first brought this movie up was that any other movie, if I did not remember the details of just the plot, the murder plot and everything, I would ding it so hard. But this movie, as he said, the hangout element is the focus. And it's so good that the fact that I can never remember what the actual plot in terms of the Corbin Bernsen daughter and all that stuff that just brushed off all at the end, just kind of as just a quick aside. It's I don't care. It's great.
Yeah, I don't think Downey, his character, can quite ever remember the details of it. Even when by the time he's giving the narration, I don't think he's got
it's the same
anymore.
It's the same with. Well, hopefully I'm not taking someone's pick, but the nice guys, who the hell can tell you really the actual case that's being investigated in that movie? It's something with the auto industry.
It's some Chinatown water thing. I think
exactly. An automobile.
No, it's an auto industry.
Auto industry thing, right?
Yeah.
So that one, I enjoy that movie a lot, but that one is more strained when it comes because it has more plot that it's trying to actually focus on during it. Not like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, where it's just nope, it's just brush it off at the end.
And it doesn't have the voiceover narration too. I mean, maybe there's some narration in Nice Guys, but not
not like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, it's
really drives the entire thing with that character's voice. Okay, June, we got one more screenplay pick.
All right,
we're gonna jump
screenplay
over to scores.
Pick because my first pick was kind of a no man's land in terms of whether it's original or adapted. Actually, I'm going to build this up. I remember the thing I said about best adapted screenplay usually being based for real people. I've found some that were credited for being original. This is the year 2015. Spotlight won. That was an original screenplay. So Bridge of Spies, that was an original screenplay. Straight Outta Compton, that was an original scrscreenplay. According to the Oscars website, those are all nominated for original screenplay. What I'm picking for 2015, it was the year that The Big Short won. I'm picking a movie that did not have a traditional screenplay, Fury Road.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought about this.
Oh, no, that's adapted because it's a sequel, right?
Yeah, I would assume so. Yeah, right, because it's based on existing characters. But yeah, Fury Road. In terms of
I'm so flummoxed by everything you laid out there.
Blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
Fury Road. Unrelated to anything, Fury Road. This is one where a genre that generally does not get nominated for screenplay. This one is almost literally all action, very little dialogue overall, right? With the hero that's essentially monosyllabic. And it was built entirely from screenplay. Storyboards. And being a storyboard artist myself, that is amazing.
Yeah,
I can see how it speaks to you in that way. You want to. This is a way to highlight storyboard artists' contributions to scripts and all that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel it does embody what I was saying earlier about how it's the art of doing the least or the most with the least.
And this might tip over the least screenplay ever.
There might not be enough pages in this screenplay for me to edge it out over something else in 2015.
I find this difficult too. I love the film, obviously, but I don't think of it as a triumph of writing.
It's got structure.
It is well written.
It does.
Yeah,
It's got a very good structure, but a very functional structure, I would say. I mean, now the stuff with Nux is really good. All that kind of first act.
The relationship between Max and Furiosa that develops essentially wordlessly, and you just see it happen, just by action behavior.
Yeah, it's an awesome movie. So, presumably that does mean it has a good script, for sure. It's just, I mean, what's it look like on a page? What does the sandstorm scene look like on a page?
Right.
It's just they have a chase. I can't even imagine how you write that out in a way that conveys what the movie does.
Has to be arguing here for is we're sort of mostly trying to argue around a shift in perspective on what the Academy values. I think this requires a shift in the actual Academy rules and definitions to that a screenplay is more as a category is more expansive than a script.
Even though this does technically it must have had a script because it has a screenplay credit, right?
Right. Yeah. But I think when you had to expand it to the storyboards and that. And the more I think about this, the more I think in 2025, especially there is no reason to maintain the arbitrary distinction between it has to come out of the final draft program and be we can incorporate not to get too deep into AI stuff, but you could incorporate easily storyboards and pictures. What does that look like on a page? Well, why doesn't it look like a storyboard artist depiction of the sand fire tornado? Could be on that page now pretty easily. And if Shane Black can include these asides to the reader that are never going to make it onto the audio track or onto the screen, really, if somebody is doodling in the margins of a screenplay and showing they're also just an artist and are doodling, if George Lucas included sketches of X-Wings and TIE fighters in the Star Wars screenplay, would that make it a better screenplay? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what George Miller is doing here.
Here's what I'd say to this. Because this is not the only movie that this is a live action that was made like this, but animated movies are made like this generally for a long time, all the time, right? Until we got more rock star animation directors writing their screenplays, but a lot of amazing animated films like the 90s Disney Renaissance, they were built on screenplays. They don't have a traditional screenplay. They get essentially worked up and whittled down and reworked for years before they actually start animating the thing. So it's not totally out of sorts, right? I just don't know if those movies were ever nominated for best screenplay. That's the only thing I'd say.
Maybe not, but were they as worthy as
Beauty right?
I mean,
Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion
I've been
King.
watching The Little Mermaid a lot lately with my kid. She's on Little Mermaid phase, and I'm kind of taken aback by how tight that thing is. It's it's kind of an immaculate.
It is a writing process. It's just done with pictures.
Interesting.
It's funny. My girls are in a Little Mermaid phase too, but exclusively the Disney on Ice version.
Oh, that'll happen. We had to. It took a while to get through Poor Unfortunate Souls. We were, that was a stopper for a while.
It's intense. It's intense number.
Great, my God, it's so good.
It's really, really good. How come, later modern Disney cartoons can't get like this? It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare sequence.
Yeah, it's amazing. But yeah, it was too much for her, and we finally pushed through. So yeah, that was a bit of an achievement.
That's awesome. That's
and
that's
the Fury Road equivalent of that is when you're with the brides in Immortan Joe's.
Yeah, keep going.
Right.
Okay. All right.
That's the darkest part.
All right, we should go. We want to do scores here. We should.
We do want to do scores.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very interesting pick. It's a very interesting.
Maybe this is a little easier though, because like I said, it's hard to nail down exactly what the Academy thinks best screenplay means, but I think we have a pretty good idea of what everyone thinks best score means. It means John Williams.
Well, kind of. He's real good, and he has sort of defined what I want in a score, probably because he was such a big part of my childhood, which is, massive leitmotifs that take me to an emotional place and remind me of the film whenever I hear them. I don't know. There's a movement away from him, but you know,
I'm going to try and highlight a sort of non-traditional and one more traditional score for my own. But let's go reverse order this time. So, John, why don't you do the first one on this?
Well, in that spirit, then I'm going to pick this one, which is my favorite score of all time. It's not John Williams. It is from a sort of a journeyman composer named Basil Polidorus, who, one of the greatest to ever live.
Oh man, this is not
but yeah,
good.
never nominated for anything. Oh, it's Conan the Barbarian. It's Conan. I mean, it's the best. It's the best screenplay. It's a very John Williams-esque kind of screenplay in a lot of ways, but it's not quite.
Well, you mean score? We're not talking
screenplay.
Shit. Yes, score.
Screenplay is by Oliver Stone, I believe.
And Milius, and that's great too.
Yeah.
But no, we're talking score here, and yeah, the score is, well, it's the most evocative piece of music I can think of. You know, in the John Williams vein, this works in the same way for me that like Superman or Raiders of the Lost Ark does.
Oh yeah,
it's you know, it takes me right to the place. You know, as soon as it starts, I'm just like, oh, dun 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 dun, and it is so perfect for the material. It elevates this film in such a dramatic way. And you talk about movies that are, you know, like made by their score. And this is one of them. This is like Halloween or Jaws. You know, this is an important, a significant part of the film's identity. And in my opinion, one of the greatest films ever made. I love Conan the Barbarian. And it's kind of amazing because I don't like almost any other sword and sorcery films.
I'm there with
as
you.
a genre, it's kind of really bad a lot of the time. It's sleazy and gross and poor. They're just not well made. And then there's
that's what you're saying. That this score elevates the movie. It is, I would say, the thing that pulls this movie out of schlock and into something, you know, closer to a RoboCop level of like there's schlocky elements, but there's more to appreciate going on.
There's a lot of good work going on. You know, there's performances that are really, really keyed in. There's John Milius's general Nietzschean kind of philosophy overlaid on this stuff. You know, but it's aside from being a genre I don't really like, it's a genre that I always think I'm going to like. I always think I'm going to gravitate towards this, and I keep giving these movies a shot. And I think it's just because I've seen Conan the Barbarian, and I have that rush of endorphins when, you know, when the Anvil of Crom theme kicks in, or the flesh orgy sequence later, that incredible orchestral piece of work when they're infiltrating Tulsa Doom's mountain of power. It's all the good things about the genre.
Yeah, it's a genre that lends itself to very cheap productions, and that's typically what you get is just everything being done on a budget. And, you know, you're a lot of times the leads are basically cast because of their bodies, which was kind of the case in Conan, and it worked. But I mean, it most of the time,
kind of entirely the case.
Most of the time when you're casting just because of the bodies, you know, you get stuff like, you know, the Barbarian twins in one of these kind of movies, and it's just not they're just not very good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
well, they're all good here, and you got like Von Sydow and James Earl Jones popping up as well. They're not there for their bodies.
No.
Yeah. James Earl Jones kind of plump in this, really. It doesn't matter.
I mean, that's
Still,
honestly one of the best, probably the most underrated. I was going to say underrated just villain in an Arnold film. I think underrated villain, period, is James Earl Jones in this movie. I mean, he is awesome in Conan. It's an incredible performance.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. I mean, look, we've done a whole episode on Conan. I could do another whole episode on Conan. It's one of my favorite films, and yeah, this score, holy shit, it is the thing. It is, you know, it's the best score of all time, in my opinion. So of course it should be nominated. Basil Polidorus did a lot of other really good scores. RoboCop. He's, you know, worked with Verhoeven a ton. Hunt for Red October, a ton of movies. Really huge career, but this one stands out.
Starship Troopers.
Yeah,
The Avengers
theme is basically ripping off.
he did a really great score for a very often ridiculed film On Deadly Ground. But it's a great score. It's such an awesome, just Alaska wilderness type of score. It's really well done. It's one of the best things about that movie.
He's an evocative composer. Like he will really give you the sense of the place and the tone that the director's going for. I wonder what his meetings with director Steven Seagal for On Deadly Ground were like.
Hey, whatever notes.
Really get across the Alaskan wilderness.
Well, he certainly
exactly
did. It's fantastic. I mean, he also did the score for Under Siege 2 a year later. So I guess Steven liked the man.
Locked territory.
A working relationship. All right. That one's chalk for me. So
yeah, that's a great pick.
This one's chalk for me, but it is enough of a non-traditional, not John Williams score that it didn't get any love from the Academy. But I'm going to take, was it 2006? The soundtrack for the film version of Friday Night Lights. That's all composed by 2004 film, composed by the post-rock band Explosions in the Sky. It is they do moody instrumental rock tracks with sort of traditional rock setup with guitars and bass and drums, but then they have no lyrics to their songs, and their compositions feel to me, I don't have the vocabulary for it, but structured more like a symphony than a pop rock song. And this has made them a great and popular choice for soundtracks for certain types of movies. Peter Berg, I think, really likes working with them, and they work on the Friday Night Lights movie is fantastic. And the Friday Night Lights show, most people think they do all that too, but it's really just somebody else ripping off their style.
I'm having a hard time drawing the distinction between the two right now. I'll be honest. I'm trying to. Oh, is that the show?
No, if you like one, you'll like the other.
Yeah. I remember
it's straight up just make the same thing. It is that same tone, like. It's just that's moody, evocative of just like small town life, kind of Texas.
Yeah, and there's a yearning.
But they build to it. Yes, there's a yearning, and they build to a crescendo. The tracks to check out, I would say, are Your Hand in Mine as the sort of key one, and I'm a big fan of A Slow Dance, which is it's like the hardest track to find. I don't know. I've spent the last 20 years trying to find a reliable way of it. It's like not available on Apple Music or Spotify or anything.
Let me see if
it's
I can
not even
find
on some versions of the soundtrack. It was like only on one.
What's the track
I had to
called?
get it off a CD. It's called A Slow Dance. I had to rip it off YouTube. Is the only way I've been able to find it.
Slow Dance. Anyway. Okay, let me see if I can try to find it for you.
It's just great stuff. Great mood music. And again, if you're trying to step outside the John Williams mold, this is a good place to start. I'd say.
Nice.
No, I love it. Yeah, I fully agree. I love that. I love those scores.
All right, Chris, what are you going to go for?
All right. Well, as I draw a line through Basil Pollidaris for Conan and wonder what might have been, I'm going to go ahead and go to 1989. And I'm going to go ahead and nominate Hans Zimmer for Black Rain.
Yes!
Yeah.
It's about that.
I
listened to that one.
I've never seen this movie. What do I need to know?
Oh, really?
Oh, really? Oh, well, it's a
Black
great
Rain.
movie. It's a fantastic movie. It's like there's really nothing, groundbreaking. It's like I think Ridley Scott, it was kind of maybe a bit of a downward slide at the time, and it's, just a really well-made cop on the edge kind of movie who's in Japan with his partner to transport a prisoner, and the prisoner gets away, and so he's got to kind of maneuver through Japan to find the prisoner. But it's a great movie. Everyone should watch it.
Is this a situation where there are like two movies called Black Rain? They're like 20 years apart or something?
Well, there is another. There is
very similarly named.
There's a foreign film called Black Rain, which I think I've never seen. There is one, but this is the Ridley Scott film, and with respects to the scores, I'm pretty sure this is like the first kind of action score that Hans Zimmer did. I mean, I know he had done Rain Man, and I'm not sure what else he had done before this, and I feel like you can kind of hear the genesis of everything that kind of came over the next 30 years sort of begins in Black Rain, and it's just a great score. Yeah, I love it.
He rips off himself what he did in Black Rain in moments of Batman Begins and No Time to Die. Like I hear, you hear that zing, zing,
for
zing,
sure.
that same sound. It's just newer synths, basically, right?
Yeah.
Chris, speaking of this film, by the way, this is definitely in the Michael Mann camp here. This is we might end up talking about that later this summer.
It's kind of like that. I also feel it's almost like if Ridley Scott had made a Tony Scott movie. Is sort of how I look at it.
That's closer to it. Yeah,
it's almost like they were hanging out, and Tony Scott was like, I'm gonna go make this movie Revenge. You want to look at this script for Black Rain? Okay, why not? I'll do Black Rain, and it sort of feels like that. It has a real very Tony Scott kind of feel, but and again, it's the kind of a basic premise. It's the kind of movie that a lot of people could have made, but because it's Ridley Scott and you have all these kind of A-list people, I mean, it's Michael Douglas right off of Wall Street, essentially. It's like, I think it might have been his first movie after Wall Street. So it's like, it's kind of a B plot, but with all these A entities coming together, and Hans Zimmer is right there among them. And it's tremendous work by him in this.
Chris, you might be my way of getting to this score, because I listened to the score before I ever saw the movie, which the movie is cool, but the music is what sticks with me. Yeah. When I was young, my mom ran a Oriental quote unquote video and gift shop. Okay. And among those videos, there were some Korean ero films, basically erotic softcore porn. And I would sneak those home. And so these things, Koreans have like no sense of like, this is copyright music, we can't use it. They will use it. And this movie had so much Black Rain score before I knew what Black Rain was, right? So I listened to this, and eventually when I did see Black Rain, I was like, wait a minute, what? So like, Last of the Mohicans was in it, Sliver, like it's like this, like whoever did the music for picked the music for these softcore movies, like clearly loved the movie scores, right?
And anyway, and what were the titles?
That's funny.
If you have any,
it's hard to translate. It's like Madam Cow or something.
Oh damn!
Wow. Well.
Hey. Madam Cow is having an affair or something like that.
Specialty acts. Okay, cool.
But yeah, so I was familiar with the music well before I ever saw the movie. And when I saw the movie, I was like, oh man, it's like a warm blanket already. I haven't even seen this movie before.
Hey,
and now I listen
this reminds me of something.
This is a ripoff of Madam Cow. Hans Zimmer's a thief.
It's a loving homage to Madam Cow has an affair.
Right.
I guess when I think of Hans Zimmer, I think of heavy pounding beats,
really, really bad VHS overlay text. But yeah, it worked, and in the movie, and I still listen to the soundtrack. It's in the little old iPod Nano in my car, and I still listen to that soundtrack a lot. Now that I have a more normal association with the music, and I was also when I made
it's never going to replace the other one.
It won't. But
those seeds are in there deep.
Luckily, there are other tracks that are like the motorcycle chase track. Like I listened to that one, and that one's associated with motorcycle chasing. It's just really, really cool. It's a sound that I wish Hans Zimmer went back to. I went to see Hans Zimmer 2 times in concert, and it would be, in my head, I keep going, please, at some point, pick Broken Arrow or Black Rain. Basically, like, please go back to some of that sound. Like Inception, Batman, sure. I know you have to do those, and Dune, but give me some of that. Yeah, but he does not. He has not gone back to those yet.
Okay, so as June crosses Black Rain off the top of his list, he now has to make 2 other choices.
I'm gonna
please describe as much detail as possible.
Exactly.
What softcore
my softcore
vignette was playing out under these when you were introduced to them.
I'm gonna go a little bit of both. It's going to be a mix of a little bit of that and something classy that it's frankly quite psycho that it never got nominated. So 1960, Psycho was never nominated. Icon.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
What can
that
you really
feel like
say
such an
about
oversight.
that, right? What won that year? It was Ernest Gold wins for Exodus. I don't know what that
Fuck
is.
off. No one knows what Exodus is anymore. Okay.
Well, yeah, but 1960, we're not going to have like a deep Rolodex of everything was nominated there. But
Of course.
yeah, Psycho is like it's that like what Jaws and Star Wars, I guess, are the most
yeah.
iconic
I mean,
movie scores of all time.
It's the kind of
Like,
thing like even if you've never seen Psycho,
Film dorks
you know,
will say The Third Man, maybe.
you
but
know what
yeah.
you know what that is, even if you
true.
haven't seen the movie.
Oh,
You don't have to have seen a movie to know what that. sort
It's
of
top to
is.
bottom awesome though. It's really just
Yes, it is.
all that.
The title track, yeah. I used to listen to that soundtrack a bunch. It's just a really cool soundtrack.
The thing I always remember with Psycho is Reanimator. Literally uses the soundtrack to Psycho. And I remember thinking, like, this has an incredible score. Why don't people talk about how great the Reanimator score is? It's fucking Psycho. It's literally just Psycho.
Oh, okay. It's like Ice Ice Baby to Under Pressure. It's like
Right.
you just add a little asyncopated beat.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like my modern version of that is the best, most affecting, or most successful moment of Wonder Woman 1984 is just completely stolen valor by stealing a track from the Sunshine.
Right.
soundtrack.
Yeah. It's like, what are you doing?
All right,
Yeah.
but Psycho's a classic, sure. So,
Yeah.
what else?
Yeah,
You got
yeah.
anything else
That's a
that's
quick one,
more
like,
controversial for us?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, is it my turn again?
Yeah.
It is your turn again.
Oh,
yeah.
that's right. So, I'm not picking it, but you just mentioned Sunshine. That was on my list, but I'm not going to go with
Yeah,
it.
sorry.
No, it's totally cool because now that it's my pick, now I don't know what to do. I'm going to go with somebody that has never been nominated. I feel like it's like the composer that's never been nominated, and I feel like that's kind of a crime. And I'm going to pick one of his. Now, which one do I pick of it? I'm going to go with the one that I listen to the most. I'm going to go with Requiem for a Dream, Clint Mansell.
Well,
Oh,
yes.
yeah. Clint Mansell, yeah. He's,
I mean, it's right
he's
there with
gotta
Sunshine.
Get nominated eventually, right?
I don't know. I feel like his biggest works were with Aronofsky. Does Aronofsky still work with him? I can't remember, but probably. I'm not sure. But yeah, I listened to Requiem for a Dream a ton. That was my introduction to Clint Mansell. And then, the work he continued to do with Aronofsky, just really awesome stuff and never nominated. What is it? Requiem for a Dream was so good that the Two Towers trailer literally just orchestrated one of its key tracks for its trailer, and that became like
one of the most iconic pieces of
most
music in the Lord
iconic
of the Rings
trailer
trilogy.
music, right? Yeah, yeah.
That was in the movie.
I think on the basis of that, honestly, it has an immediate claim to this should have won an Oscar. Like it's just that is an eternal piece of music that has helped so many films along in their way.
Well, and it's probably the most popular fan edit, super YouTube fan trailer music track.
Reviews, yeah.
Yeah,
It's so much to the point that I kind of got sick of hearing it. Right?
yeah.
It's kind of like Star Wars fan films with lightsabers. I don't want to see a lightsaber ever again. I never want to hear Lux Eterna ever again. Like, you guys
Right.
ruined it. It's great, and you ruined it.
Is that? Yeah. I mean, it's sort of it's generation's O Fortuna from the Excalibur
Yeah.
soundtrack.
Yeah.
That everybody if you look up O Fortuna, that's da 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 da, and they're iconic and eventually they get overused in car commercials, but that's not really the fault of the initial
Right.
composition.
Yeah. But yeah, what else did you say about that? Nothing really.
I guess-
It's like it took a super depressing, dark movie that people would say I can't watch that again. But for me, it was like listening to a warm, familiar record. Like, I listened to the soundtrack and I'm thinking of it's like I'm having great times thinking back on Requiem for a Dream.
Well, somebody else might want to actually select a different Clint Mansell movie, but I'm going to blow up that spot in case if you're not relying on that. Because I want to ask June. I would have chosen The Fountain.
Right, that was the other one that I was thinking about
Mansell's
choosing because
canon.
also fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a little piano track on there called "Together We Will Live Forever." That if you want to play at my funeral, that's fine.
No.
That'll do nicely. that's what I would go with. I guess it's a little closer to the John Williams bigger leitmotifs, bigger sounds than Requiem, but
still
you
its
want to go a little
still
more
its own thing. Yeah. I feel. Oh no, I shouldn't mention anything yet, just because somebody else might pick it. But we might talk about it later. In terms of like what gradually we're shifting away from the John Williams style, and we're going in more and more where like these are trends. Like Requiem for a Dream, The Fountain are like transition points until we get to like what other things that aren't quite orchestral can now win Oscars.
Yeah. Well, we went. I guess if anybody took the proverbial belt from John Williams, it would be Hans Zimmer, right?
Yeah.
But that's still that's one step out, like into more less of it. The string section's less prominent. The synthesizer is more prominent, maybe.
Yeah.
All right.
That's right.
Chris,
So, I think yes.
I don't know if you probably weren't going to choose The Fountain, I'm guessing.
No, I was not. You pegged that correct. So I mean, since I lost out and was not able to go with a Conan, I'm gonna look at another film starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I'll go to 1987 Alan Silvestri for Predator. I just think that in terms of music that just matches the setting, it's like I can't think of that movie without hearing that music, and it's just one of the great action scores of all time, and it's just such a great cohesion of that whole jungle vibe to the music. It's just a great marriage, and that year, the winning soundtrack or score, excuse me, was for The Last Emperor. Okay, fine, but I mean, and you have a great one from for the Untouchables. Definitely not messing with that. But we got 2 nominations for John Williams this year. There's Empire of the Sun and Witches of Eastwick. So you can keep the Empire of the Sun and let's
spread the wealth.
Yeah, come on. I mean, I know the guy. I mean, he's.
It's a fiddle. It's very Tim Burton-y. It's.
Well, I'm.
Cut Empire of the Sun. That's not a great score.
I'm
sorry.
Go ahead.
You're right. You're right.
I'm putting Silvestri in there. I mean, I just think that. I know a score is good when I can't think of the movie without hearing it. Like it's like if someone just says Predator, immediately I'm thinking of that music, and that that kind of stuff is just in my head. Like it's just so. There you go. I'm going with that one all the way.
I don't have the Predator soundtrack burned into my mental pathways in the same way I think you do, but I would say this does seem like a more difficult assignment from a film score perspective than most, because it has to accommodate the sort of the genre shift that Predator does.
Oh yeah.
That's a key part of what Predator is how it sort of presents as an Arnold, muscle man, like commando movie, and then switches into being a slasher halfway through. And so you have to do 2 things at once, but make them feel like the same thing. And, for as big as John Williams' work is on Star Wars or whatever, that is the same movie all the way through.
Right. Yeah. I never really thought of that. That's true.
Alan Silvestri is one of those guys who has, kind of quietly added an enormous amount to the soundscape of American films, without maybe getting the acclaim of your Zimmers and Williamses, but it's still, he's done an enormous amount. He's Zemeckis' guy, right? He's a
he did Back to the Future.
Yeah, well, Back to the Future is sort of the
That's
immortal thing that he did. Yes, but I mean, he's had a huge career, and he's usually great.
Avengers Endgame.
Oh yeah, he did the Avengers thing. Right?
He did the portals. And,
no one will say that. Yeah, no one will say that's his best work, but it's there.
Everyone knows what it is.
Forrest Gump, wins Best Picture because of him, I would say.
I mean,
and may have been a disaster without him.
Well, another one that he did that I love, even though it's a movie that not many people like, but I just think it's a great match, and it's just so big. Is his score for the Stallone version of Judge Dredd? It's just so big and it's just loud, and it's just such a great match for that world. So I mean, I love when scores just really match the world of the movie, and I think he's pretty damn good at that. I'm not sure how good a job he did with the score for Welcome to Marwin. I'm not really sure.
He probably did fine. He probably did a great job. You know,
probably.
I put a blind bet on the score being like the best part of Welcome to Marwin. that segues me into my last pick here, because I wanted to
Welcome
with
to
this. Yes, it does highlight something that I think is really hard for the Academy, any award-giving body, including the four of us as one here.
Sure.
One of the hardest things to highlight is when you're awarding a particular aspect of a movie, and when the movie itself is bad or doesn't work, but it has one thing that is really worthy of praise and adulation, all that. Maybe the stunt category will be good for that too. But for me, I think this is a very traditional Williams-style score that is fantastic and deserved to win Best Score. But I see why it didn't, because it's in a bad movie. And that is Tom Twyker's score for Cloud Atlas.
I like Cloud Atlas.
I like that movie. But I see
that movie is not very good. Like, in part because that movie is going for this really completely transcendent experience, and about like it's the biggest movie in scope ever made, in terms of it's trying to cross millennia and tie it all together, and the performances and the makeup and whatever can't pull all that off. The only part that reaches that transcendent level that the movie's going for consistently is the score.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a beautiful piece of work.
It's funny that you just mentioned this is building off of Alan Silvestri, because Zemeckis recently did
Welcome to Marwin being like a bad movie that probably has a good score. That's what I would say this is.
But yeah, like Zemeckis did Here, which is also a movie that's supposed to span all this time and to make a transcendent point, and Silvestri's doing the score, and it's one of those, like, I think some people hated the movie, some people like the movie, but it's one of those where, like, you know, Silvestri's still doing his thing. And to your point, like, this is like the music really elevates whatever isn't, you know, may not work about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen Cloud Atlas once in theaters. I really enjoyed it. I haven't gone back to it though, but I do still remember that music. It's the Cloud Atlas Sextet or something. I think that's the kind of the key
that's
piece
the thing. Like you have narratively, there's a requirement for a transcendent piece of music that a character writes. That's a tough thing to do. That's a really difficult thing to put yourself in the position of. You know, I always think of Mr. Holland's Opus as the ultimate example of this failing, which the whole movie builds up to the performance of the titular musical piece, and it's just this. It's nothing. It's, you know, it's like, oh, it turns out he wasn't very good.
Like, I kind of enjoy it. It's kind of cute. It's not transcendent, but it's kind of cute.
Like, they actually nail that in Cloud Atlas. That they really pull that off, and when they play that music, you're just like, that's great, you know. You know, I think having like Jim Broadbent react to it helps too. You know, like that sort of thing works. But sure, it's great.
I haven't seen the movie since theater either, but I've listened to this soundtrack a lot independently, and as its own piece of music, it still works a treat.
Yeah, I kind of like that movie. It's got the Cockney Tom Hanks scene. It's got, as much as I do like that movie, that's sort of the
many
thing
different colors of faces. From yellow to brown to we're not going to quite do black, I think was the.
You know what's really cool? Like, I forgot because it was Tom Tykwer, right? And with his usual collaborators, and they came up through like stuff like Run Lola Run and The Princess and the Warrior, and so it's really cool that, you know, they start like they're rock musicians essentially, but when it's time to do like something Williamsy, like they could still deliver. Like, you know, they delivered something that feels more in line with like what the Academy would usually nominate. Yeah. Like, they can do it,
and they still did,
right?
But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, John Williams probably got nominated 3 times that year.
Right?
Who knows? But okay, John, close us out here. We have one last pick. I think we're kind of backed you into a corner where you kind of have to do a particular thing here.
No, I don't. I don't have to do shit. I can do a lot. I could pick Fargo. Carter Burwell needs an Oscar. He doesn't have one.
I love that.
That's an amazing
You're going to
piece of
let
music.
the Framework podcast do this whole exercise, and we're not going to talk about how John Carpenter's never been nominated for a music award.
Well, I mean, we did 20 episodes on John Carpenter, and we talked about this a lot. Same with Fargo, I suppose. We had the opportunity to talk about that earlier as well. I mean, yeah, like obviously Halloween should have won Best Score. Obviously, he wrote a bunch of other ones that were real good too. But we've talked about this. What we have, we've never talked about Wojciech Kilar's score for Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Nice.
Which is my pick.
Now we're talking.
All right.
That's it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's sort of like it's a little like Cloud Atlas in that I love that movie. I don't think there's any detractors of Bram Stoker's
Not really.
Dracula on this
No.
Zoom right now.
I enjoy it.
But some people don't like that movie, and I get it, but I don't think anybody is going to deny the score.
It's a fantastic piece of work, and it is one of those that has lived forever in trailers and commercials, and so, like it's super familiar, despite being so incredibly distinctive and unique, and so evocative of the film in which it appears. It's this is kind of a personal pick in a way, beyond, like, I could have picked a classier one. I thought I was going to after I picked Conan.
I know, still sounds pretty classy to me.
It's ooky spooky and and full of just like a bunch of weird vampire noises and lot of screams to heaven, a lot of really really crazy instruments brought to bear to this incredibly bizarre, bloody, sexy gothic romance about monsters. It is kind of a masterpiece in regards to the score. It is so weird and so profoundly unique and just, I mean, like everything else in that film, it is absolutely blown out and huge and ginormous and draws attention to itself. Also, just kind of beautiful to listen to on its own. I have no idea who this guy is, other than the guy who wrote Bram Stoker's Dracula music. I can't pronounce his name correctly, I'm pretty sure. But man, he knocked it out of the park on this one. The first CD I ever owned was yes,
Thriller,
was the Bram Stoker's Dracula soundtrack.
Oh,
you know what? I lie. I say it was Primus. I got him the same Christmas morning, Sailing the Seas of Cheese, but I opened Dracula first. So this is technically my first CD. I've kind of always loved this one, and like my other pick, Conan, it's like every track is kind of huge and distinct, and really brings me right to the scene in which it came from. Plus of course all the trailers that the main theme gets used for. So that's my pick. It's one of the most soundtracks ever, probably.
Yeah,
and,
so it would have fit right into the mold of what gets nominated. It feels like.
It was nominated for a Saturn.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's even like associated with Francis Ford Coppola, who like the Academy doesn't have a problem recognizing at that stage.
They weren't going to go nuts for Dracula. They just had no idea that it was the last time he was going to be a really, really successful across the board.
Nobody
filmmaker.
saw Jack coming around the corner.
Yeah, it's I think a film that has only grown in its regard critically, and and everyone kind of just acknowledges it's pretty fucking great. It's interesting. It's sort of a sidebar. We just got the Eggers Nosferatu, and which is sort of a modern version of Bram Stoker's Dracula. I think we're going to get a modern version of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein this year.
Well,
with
I don't know
the
if
Del Toro film.
I don't know if you've seen. There's a Dracula movie coming from Luc Besson, and it's just a straight rip off of Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's like the most shameless.
It looks like
thing.
shit, man.
It doesn't look. No,
It
it
looks
looks.
real
It
bad.
looks bad, but it's like it's the most shameless rip I've ever seen of Bram Stoker's Dracula.
I almost would cite this as a strength of Besson, is that he is absolutely shameless in what he's willing to rip off. Like, just there's no shame in his game.
Yep. He's well. I don't need to talk about Besson. So yeah. Look, that's a bunch of good scores there. You know. Look, we're running long here. I'm gonna cut this down some, but we should do some honorable mentions here. You know, and get out before we hit 2 hours. For God's sakes. Like Daft Punk, Tron Legacy. You know, no doubt.
This
Sure.
this was on my short list. Ultimately, what I decided against there is, I mean, it's insane they didn't get nominated, but what wins that year is The Social Network, and I'm like, okay,
that's a good one.
those
That's the
neck and neck for,
transition
like-
point. Like those two, was it Reznor and Ross? They just kind of took over winning for that kind of shift into electronic.
That's true.
Yeah.
And
a
I'd
great
say neck
song.
and neck. If you want to say either of those is the best score of this century, I would say, okay, 50-50 shot by me. I'll give it to you. Because Tron Legacy is fantastic. Kind of like Cloud Atlas, bad movie with a great score. Probably dinged it. But ultimately, I thought the fact that it lost the Social Network one is like, it's not as much of a travesty because of that. What is more travesty, I think, that Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross get all the credit, and as this sort of, you know, elder statesman rock god that has transitioned into film scores and is now respected there. And I feel like that's taken some of the wind away from Nick Cave and Warren Ellis. And I think their hit score for The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford is also one of the best bits of music written this century. Also did some good work in The Proposition, various other things. But man, Assassination of Jesse James, great stuff.
Like along those lines, like with Clint Mansell not never being nominated, and I feel like he's somebody that, you know, incorporated kind of a traditional orchestra along with like in more experimental ways, right? That wasn't just synth, but it was also like using the why can't I think of their name? The quartet that he used for Requiem for a Dream.
Kronos, was it?
Kronos Quartet, yeah. Like using like a quartet with electronics, like bum, 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 like dance beats, stuff like that. In terms of honorable mentions, I've always been a huge fan of the Dust Brothers for Fight Club. Like that's just like
that's
right,
fun.
right, and that's something that was not nominated, but that's a really interesting score.
It's true. It gets a little tangled up in my head with the Pixies, unfortunately.
Right.
It's sort of
And that's just like the ending,
the
right,
signature music of that. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, it is. But you know,
Yeah, it is harder, I think, for score when movies mix score and like needle drops that way,
Which is
and
funny.
Yeah, right, the musical identity of Fight Club
Is the Pixies
is split in that way.
because it's funny because it's not like the Fight Club doesn't have a bunch. It doesn't really have. It's not a needle drop movie. It's just that one needle
Except at
drop
the end,
really
yeah.
just really takes over. But I listened to that Fight Club soundtrack a lot when I was in high school. Just really cool. And I'm not an electronic guy, but it was just I love the movie. The score was just really cool. Oh, you know, in terms of a discussion about. We brought up a lot, several times, in fact, about how an uncelebrated score got used in a lot of trailers. One fun loop that I felt over the years was because we talked about Requiem for a Dream, didn't get nominated, but the track got orchestrated for Two Towers, which got overused. Like that piece got overused. It got used for other trailers. And in fact, it was used for the trailer for Sunshine, too. Like that track got used for the trailer for Sunshine before it had a score, and then Sunshine comes
Ouroboros.
out, and that was ignored for the Academy, which is also a really cool John Murphy score. And the main track, the Adagio in D, I think, is that one, the one where the son, you know, kills Hiroyuki Sanada. That started getting used in everything for a while, and that became the trailer track. Like it kind of handed off like a relay race. It's really kind of funny how that happens for a movie.
Well, it's kind of like they paid it forward.
Right, yeah, they paid it for like for a movie that really did not do well in theaters. Like that movie just disappeared from theaters really quickly, but that music lasted. I remember listening to it in like The Walking Dead. It got used in, as you said, Wonder Woman 1984. It got used in Hitman. Like John Murphy just reused that track again in not Hitman. What is it? Hit Girl. Kick Ass.
Okay.
Yeah, he reused it in Kick kick-ass. So it's just like this stuff that just gets repurposed. That it's like a temp track, and they decide no temp track that
We're not going to beat
replace
that.
yeah, we can't repeat that, so we're just going to just use it again. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This isn't a movie score, this is a needle drop, but the Kill Bill, the Battle for Honor and Humanity, I got so sick of hearing that.
They're still,
yeah.
Last time I was in a bar like a week ago, and there was no sound on the thing, but I saw, like a Sports Center broadcast was winding down, and they were just doing credits, and I saw Battle Without Honor Humanity is by such and such, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, they're still playing that over sports highlights.
Yeah.
Anyway, Chris, do you have any honorable mentions for either screenplays or scores we didn't get to talk about?
Screenplay-wise, I was pretty close to going with David Mamet for Glengarry Glen Ross for adapted screenplay. That was pretty high on my list.
Didn't get nominated.
No, didn't.
That's surprising.
Not nominated.
I mean, it's such a transposition of the play that maybe, but I mean, they did write the Baldwin scene though.
That was that's for the
and he wrote the play, so it's like,
yeah.
So
there was somebody else's play, and you just added the Baldwin scene. I could see being like, you didn't do enough, but like you made that part too.
And that was a nominated film. People recognize that one, so probably should.
Yeah, because I think Pacino got nominated because it was the same year he won for Son of a Woman.
Oh, and Lemon, yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So
Lemon lost to him for Son of a Woman. In fact.
Yes.
Yeah. That sucks. Pacino needed an Oscar. That's fine.
And then kind of the other score. I mean, it was kind of between Predator and this one, but Mark Mancina for Speed. That was
nice.
kind of fun. That's another one where if I think of the movie, I immediately just start thinking of the music, and that's always kind of my tell that I go with. And if somebody mentions Speed, I'm thinking of dun 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 dun, and that's yeah.
Yeah. There
The last time I watched Speed, and it's a triumphant music when Keanu and Sandra Bullock slide off the bus, and it's like a triumphant cue. Mm-hmm. I get emotional from that theme, and it's because it's not just like it's not just the action like synthy theme. It gets orchestral and like the more traditional orchestral. It's like, oh, this feels really great.
Yes,
that is
It's the kind that I think got used in trailers. It probably got used in trailers.
Oh, it did, I'm sure. But I just mean the romance between Keanu and Sandra Bullock and Speed is like the epitome of the Simpsons joke about, and the romantic subplot felt tacked on. Like, should not work to any degree whatsoever, except those are two really charming people, and that music even classes it up slightly.
Yep.
My honorable mention, I wanted to shout out Alien, because I think that is a really underrated screenplay just for imagining the life cycle of that creature on its own would be enough of a feat, and then you layer in the twists with like you're switching up the protagonists, you're doing the Ash robot twist, and the way that it's a very twisty movie that people don't think of that way. It all feels so linear and obvious and now iconic that of course we know how the alien grows, and of course we know that the androids have milk for blood and all that, but the way it's deployed there is really well done. For original, I would have loved to have talked about Cabin in the Woods a bit, but
good one.
That's another really loudly written one. And adapted, I was thinking I was almost going to go with Back to the Future 2, because I think that's another one that's been sort of just assimilated into pop culture so much, but is really innovative and kind of genius in like the way it tackles just the idea of what sequels meant in the 80s. And at a time, like sequel culture there is different than it is now, where things are built out to be 7-episode series from the start. But the way it revisits the first movie, and that could be a disaster and it could be confusing, but it's playing off the idea that in the 80s, sequels had to do all the same. Another 48 Hours has to do all the same beats that 48 Hours did. It was just a different villain or whatever. And it's literally revisiting that and adding layers onto it in a way that, again, is all very clear and very clever, I think, in hindsight. But just doesn't get... It's an underappreciated type of writing, I guess.
It would have been very easy to make like, oh, we're in the Middle Ages now, or or the Western, which they do in the third
the old
one.
West one, they do, yeah. Sounds good.
And they're just like, no, we have a cool idea. Yeah, the future, but we get out of there in like 40 minutes. It's a really interesting series of choices on that film, and yeah, it's a good one. Yeah. Let's see. For me, score, well, mine got picked, but The Ecstasy of Gold for, The Good and the Bad and the Ugly.
Oh, damn.
Probably should have been nominated.
I just can't believe it wasn't nominated.
Yeah. I kind of wanted to call it Michael Giacchino for his score for The Incredibles. I think that's a wonderful score. But, he was nominated for and won for multiple other Pixar films. So who cares? Screenplay, Groundhog Day. That's sort of a famous, should have been nominated.
Did that not get nominated?
Nope. He got nominated for nothing. Shaun of the Dead, Crimson Tide, and Master and Commander, which I thought was interesting because that was nominated for 10 awards, but not screenplay. Oh, wow. And it's an excellent screenplay that kind of, ties the whole film together. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For score, I wasn't going to pick these, but I listed them just because I was surprised they weren't nominated. Elfman for Batman 1989. That one wasn't nominated, right? And then that same year, Glory, James Horner didn't get nominated. He got nominated for something else for Field of Dreams, but that was the year that Menken won for Little Mermaid. So that for score, not just song.
Sure. It's a good
so
score.
Yeah, those are it's all good. It's just surprised that these are even Glory. What's the final march, the final attack? That's that's a trailer track.
Yeah, that is the more immortal score than Field of Dreams for sure. Which has a fine score, if I recall, but Glory is the one that lived on for sure. Yeah. Despite being a less memorable or successful film than Field of Dreams in the long run, the score really does. I can hear it now. Yeah. All right. Well, we're getting very long, gentlemen. We've had a lot of fun with this. This has been a fun project. I've had a blast talking with you guys about this, and I don't know what we proved here, but it's been fascinating.
We talked about the last time we talked, where we start getting selective about stuff too. We have our own biases, what we're into, and then what we lock out, even though we feel like this was deserving, but maybe we talked about it before, so maybe I should talk about something else. We have our own kind of I understand what the Oscars are feeling now.
And even though we spent 6 or 7 hours total with this whole revisionist project just to also snub John Carpenter entirely.
Oh no! Because you talked about it for a whole bunch of podcasts.
I don't know. Did we nominate The Thing for Best Picture or anything? I don't think we did.
No, I don't think we did. I was gonna, but we'd already talked about it a lot. Spent hours. I mean, that is the thing. We're also trying to podcast here and talk about stuff we haven't already spoken about before.
All right. Anyway, we're gonna be back with more John Carpenter content at some point.
Yeah, we are actually
6 months.
All right. Thank you guys. Thanks for joining us on this adventure. Always welcome. Please come back again. You're the best. Well, no, I don't want to say that. We have other good guests. I don't want to insult them.
Among the best.
Yeah, for sure.
At least nominated.
Yeah, you're not snubbed. We know that.
All right. And thank you all for listening. Bye.